Now, Red Bull's ongoing power struggle saga might prove to be the end of Horner at the helm of Red Bull Racing, as it's inevitable that the British team principal will be getting questions about it in every single press conference this season and long after the saga reaches its conclusion. However, it might end in a way that none of us would have predicted, as it's apparently talked about in the paddock that Horner's goal is another much more prestigious role within Red Bull. So, how would this change the team, and are we seeing the end of Red Bull's dominance? Since the death of Red Bull's owner Dietrich Mateschitz, there's been a power struggle in Red Bull between Christian Horner, with the support of the Thai part of Red Bull's ownership, which has 51% of shares under the guidance of Chalem Uvidia, and Helmut Marko, with the support of the Austrian side, which currently has 49% ownership of the company. This has caused absolute chaos in the team, and one of the strongest voices against Horner has been Max Verstappen's father Jos, who publicly said very strong words against Horner, going as far as saying the team will fall apart if the British team principal continues to be at the helm. Christian Horner has been in the centre of attention for a while now, but the allegations that were launched against him are no longer the reason, but rather the start of it all. However, recent bombshell developments suggest that the female employee who blamed Horner for everything has sent out a complaint towards the FIA, who until now weren't involved at all in the case, simply because nothing was asked of them. So the question is, will the FIA do something now, and could this be the beginning of the end? But it's now become clear that there are much bigger goals here for both sides than simply blaming Horner for being harsh on a female colleague. The German newspaper Bild, close to the Austrian side of the company, has published an article in which they state that Horner's goal is now to become CEO of Red Bull GmbH, which is Red Bull Racing's parent company, which means that this is now a much bigger role for Horner and more power. In that case, current executives Oliver Mintzlaff, Franz Watzlawick would be pushed aside. Apparently, Horner got the support of the Thai ownership because he promised them that Alex Albon would return to Red Bull in Max Verstappen's place, who would in turn probably join Mercedes if he became sick of this situation. As we know, Albon is one part Thai, and the Thai people take much pride in him. This would give Albon a massive chance to be a world champion in 2025, because Red Bull is predicted to be the dominant force next season as well, before the new regulations in 2026. But the question is, could Red Bull and Horner all of a sudden be without Verstappen, who might join Mercedes, and Newey, who could join Ferrari, and fulfill one of his biggest wishes, which is to work with the Maranello team and Lewis Hamilton? And without a potential engine partner, considering the fact that Ford wants a completely transparent case with nothing hidden from them. Nevertheless, this is a very interesting move from Horner to keep Thai's ownership on his side by promising them a Thai driver in Red Bull should Verstappen choose to leave. As we know, Horner stated a while ago that if Max desired to leave, he would not be held back. Even though Horner has no interest in taking on wider projects stemming from Austria that would take him away from the racing world, and his commitment remains to the F1 team first and foremost, it's still nevertheless a very interesting thing that would come out of the paddock, and it paints a picture that is opposite of how Horner was viewed until now. Because if all this was being used by the British team principal in order to gain more power, then could it possibly have been that Verstappen was to a certain degree right in wanting to kick him off the team? Or is this just Horner using the situation, as I believe each and every one of us would? When approached for a comment about this whole situation, a Red Bull spokesperson confirmed the same. Christian's commitment is with the team. However, initial steps have been taken toward a peaceful resolution. How peaceful is anyone's guess, but peaceful nonetheless. There were talks this week among the key stakeholders in an effort to unify the team and mitigate the impact of this ongoing drama on performance. Because despite their differences, Horner, Verstappen Sr. and Marko share a mutual objective, which is to secure Verstappen Jr.'s fourth consecutive World Championship title. And because of this, it's believed that they have temporarily agreed to a public truce to advance this goal. Additionally, they face a common enemy in Mercedes, which stands to benefit substantially if Verstappen departs from Red Bull, especially considering the appealing driver vacancy that will arise with Hamilton's move to Ferrari at the end of the season. Toto Wolff, the team principal of Mercedes, has enthusiastically hinted at his interest in recruiting Verstappen if the opportunity presents itself. there have also been indications that Aston Martin could be a potential alternative for Verstappen if he opts out of his current contract. While Red Bull aims to retain both its star driver and Horner, the latter now appears to be in a stronger position, backed by support from the company's Austrian CEOs and the majority shareholder, helm. Earlier this week, Jos Verstappen suggested in an interview with Belgian media that it will take time for peace to be restored entirely. But I don't think peace could be restored entirely, as this has now spilled much more into the entire company than just the Red Bull racing team. This is no longer a situation of whether or not to kick Horner out of the F1 team, but a lot bigger, and it might change the team and the company drastically. This whole situation comes as a welcome gift for Ferrari, which is now looking to challenge Red Bull and Verstappen after the latter's DNF at the Australian Grand Prix. It's safe to say that for the first time in a while, the Milton Keynes team is under pressure to perform and to leave this saga where it belongs, outside of the paddock and the track, in order to focus completely on how the team performs on track. The prancing horse is a rising force in the sport right now and will no doubt use every slip Red Bull does, and if this saga has its effect on Red Bull Racing as a team, which probably will because it's a part of the Red Bull family, then we might as well see the beginning of the end of Red Bull's domination, even earlier than expected, as 2026 will see major regulations and it's Ferrari and Mercedes, not Red Bull, who are projected to be the two strongest teams. We're still far from the end of this saga, and it's very important how it will end because it will definitely reshape the sport and Red Bull as a company. Not to mention what could happen if the FIA interferes now that the female employee lodged a complaint and even hired her own lawyer in the situation. This has plot twists written all over it, and we're along for the ride as fans, because while the sport has been uninteresting for another year with Verstappen dominating, the interesting thing now, unfortunately or not, is outside of the track. As for Verstappen, if he leaves Red Bull to join Mercedes, then this is another bombshell that will basically turn the tides upside down, because Albon as a driver is not as skilled as Max. So even if you put Albon in a car as dominant as the Red Bull in this era of regulations, he might not be a champion. Thus Horner would not complete his promise towards the tight ownership of Red Bull, which will in turn bring more problems to the table in this ongoing soap opera. So as you see, there are a lot of things that can go wrong if only one domino falls, and it will without doubt be a mess in Red Bull for a while. In the meantime, we see Ferrari and even McLaren constantly improving. So with that said, we might very well see an interesting season in Formula 1 yet again. Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts about Horner's case. Could he really leave Red Bull for a much bigger role within the company, or will he be stopped by the Austrian side of the ownership?